Why does the United States pay higher drug prices than other countries? Because America's the only country in the world where 340B hospitals mark up drug prices and PBM middlemen charge billions in hidden fees. Meanwhile, Americans subsidize the research and development for new cures. Other countries benefit, but don't pay their fair share. Crack down on the middlemen. End the free riding. Lower drug prices. Go to balancethescales.org to learn more. Paid for by Pharma.
After Zoomies at the dog park, it's time for Drive Up at Target. In goes a big bag of kibble and one squeaky chicken toy for the good boy. Drive Up that's ready when you are, only in the Target app. Just tap Target.
The McDonald's Snack Wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch Snack Wrap. Spicy Snack Wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack Wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion, with me, your host, Stephen Wallis. In the first of our special episodes looking ahead to the 2025 edition of The 100, I'm pleased to welcome back Mick Newell, the former Nottinghamshire player and coach, and now General Manager of the Trent Rockets. Mick shares his thoughts on what promises to be a transitional year for the 100-ball format, as the ECB prepares for significant changes to the competition. We also discuss what lies ahead in 2026 and beyond, with private investor involvement set to reshape the tournament. And Mick offers his measured views on what that could mean for the 100. Hello Mick, welcome back to the Paddock and the Pavilion for a chat about the 100's past, present and future. It's been a while, I think it's 12 months since we last spoke.
Probably on the same subject, Steve, I would imagine. But quite happy. Yeah, look, it's coming around again. It's about 2 weeks away till the competition starts, and it's going to be slightly different this year. Certainly different going forward.
Yeah, it was the same subject, by the way. And are you getting excited for the first game at Trent Bridge on the 10th of August?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the way the county cricket season goes, you tend to sort of deal with what's coming up the next day, the next week. So for large periods of the year, the 100 is not a driving factor, I suppose. But certain times of the year, like when we're picking players, when we're retaining players, when we're sorting out fixtures and coaching staff, it comes quite high on the agenda. And I'm sure as we get closer to the players meeting up in Nottingham about a week before that first home game, then we will be thinking about it more and more. And I've obviously got a team of people that are prepping up, and we should be in a good place when we do get round to it.
And following the franchise sales in February, would you agree that the fifth year of the 100 is a transitional year?
Yes, it's going to be a transitional year in the sense that I think there'll be a lot of investors in the competition want to come and see the competition now. They've heard about it, they've invested in it, they now want to come and see how it runs. What does a day of cricket at Trent Bridge or Lords or Birmingham actually look like? So there'll be a lot of different people on the ground. I think kits and team names will be the same this year. But certainly I think by August the 26th, we'll have some different names of teams in this competition, some different kits, probably some different coaches, some different rules around players. So I think over the course of the tournament, lots of things will be happening in the background to set it all up for 26 onwards.
Were the franchise sales a once-in-a-generation opportunity for English and Welsh cricket?
Well, I think the way I see it is it is an enormous amount of money that is potentially coming into the game, and the distribution model devised by the ECB means that money will be spread amongst all the counties, plus the MCC, plus the recreational games. So I can't see another amount of money of that sort of number coming directly into the counties and the people who actually deliver cricket on the field. So in that sense, yes, it is. It's what we do with the money that's crucial. And obviously one of the key drivers is to preserve the 18 counties as they currently exist.
And was it important that the ECB got a spread of investors? We've got, I think, 4 IPL owners, and in your case, it's an American owner.
I think a spread of investors was a good way to go. I think, like you say, half the teams are now owned by IPL owners, so they've become part of what you might call a worldwide club, particularly around Sunrisers and MI, and Lucknow, who've got teams in multiple countries, and the Southern Brave owners, GMR. So you're going to see a difference there in the way that those teams are structured. As I say, the kits, the names, the supporter base that they're going to be able to grow, and then those of us that aren't have a different outlook on it. And we look forward to working with our American and British owners, and Australian actually, from around the world, to show them, as I say, what the 100 is about and how we can make this competition better.
Yes, as a fervent Liverpool supporter, you're now going to be under the wing of a Chelsea man.
I am. I've suddenly taken an interest in Chelsea's results. That's disturbing, I think, for me.
Well, they are the world champions.
They are world champions. Don't worry, I know. I've been told several times. Yeah, look, I think it's part of their sort of sports. What would you call it? Portfolio of teams. They have interest in other sports in America, particularly baseball, basketball, those sports. So it's not just football. They're obviously best known for Chelsea, but they have lots of interest in sport and see sport as a way of, well, of growing their company, making money, and showing a firm and strong interest in the game.
A lot's been written, but is the Trent Rockets deal nearly finalised?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not hugely involved in the financial side of it, but I would imagine that all the deals will be done very, very soon. And then obviously the distribution of money amongst the counties and the recreational game can begin once all those deals have been signed.
Are you pleased at Notts that Notts have still got that 51% share?
Yes, I think so. I think we obviously have to debate around that, but I think it was a decision that our general committee and our finance committee, once they recommended it, was comfortable with. I think we don't know what's going to happen to the 100. We don't. We all hope that it's going to grow in value, that TV revenue is going to grow, that TV audiences are going to grow, and that we continue to have sold out matches, which for the most part we've managed to see at Trent Bridge. So I think it was important from our side to hold on to that money or to that percentage at the moment and see where the competition goes.
Because Yorkshire and Hampshire are both now 100% owned.
Yeah, I mean, look, lots of counties are in different positions, and Yorkshire, it's fairly well known, had some money owing to former chairman Colin Graves, and obviously this will enable them to pay that money off and hopefully give them a strong financial base for the future. And I think in Hampshire's case, similarly, Rob Bransgrove saved that club. He saved the club really 15 years ago, whatever it was, 20 years ago probably now, and then felt that the time was right to have some of his investment returned. So. Look, lots of these big clubs were in a different position financially. Some of us have spent more money on facilities than others. Some of us have borrowed more money than others. Hopefully, this provides those big clubs, big test match venues with stability, as well as preserving the game for the 18 counties.
Has the 100 achieved its objectives in the first 4 years?
Well, it's certainly brought a different audience to the game, which I know was one of its objectives. I've certainly seen different demographic at Trent Bridge for the 100, even from T20 matches. So that was an aim and an ambition. I think it's brought a lot of world-class players to this country to play in it. I think it's provided sellout grounds, particularly over the finals weekends at Lord's. I know has been sold out well in advance. And I think it's raised the profile enormously of the women's game, because the way that the double headers have landed has allowed us to have high-quality women's cricket on our major venues, probably for the first time other than for international cricket.
And are you seeing more and more people getting there earlier to watch both matches?
Yeah, definitely. I think we definitely see that. We take an audience figure halfway through the women's game now, as well as halfway through the men's game, and I think the numbers that are arriving for the first match have definitely grown. I mean, look, cricket, as you know, is still quite a weather-dependent sport. So if it's a nice hot sunny day, yes, I think people are getting here earlier and earlier. And I think people, once they've seen the girls play and seen the competitive nature of the tournament, realise that there's a high quality and a high skill level to watch there.
And how have the ticket sales gone for 2025?
Well, I can only speak for Trent Bridge. I know the first two are going very, very well, and I hope that we obviously hope the second two pick up. I think our first game is on a Sunday, and I think off the top of my head, our second game might be on a Saturday. So, look, they are easier to sell. I'm sure the midweek fixtures, but we would hope that our midweek fixtures will pick up as we get closer to the time and people start to look around at what their options are during those school holidays.
Because having been there myself, there's always a great atmosphere at Trent Bridge when the floodlights come on.
Yeah, look, the 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock sort of, or 6:30 start time works really, really well here. We like an afternoon game if we can get one, and then the evening game. And I think by August, like you say, the floodlights are taking more impact, more effect than they are in games in June and July. So we've had a cracking summer so far. If that continues through August, I would expect us to get to the sort of crowds that we normally have, albeit with a small restrictions this year because of the work that we're doing on our pavilion, which means our sort of capacity is a little bit reduced.
Yes, the Pavilion, just off track here. When's that due to be complete?
In a year's time from now. In a year's time from now. So we will have international cricket here in 2026, and obviously Ashes in 2027, and we need to get this pavilion up to international standard, particularly for teams, for players, for coaches, for referees and officials. That was the main driver, one of the main drivers, as well as to provide a better experience for our membership.
You said for the 100 matches you get a different type of audience. Do you get much opposition from members?
Opposition to the tournament.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'd like to think that we've had that debate now. I think the members, they don't have to come. That's fine. We know a lot of them do come. We know some of the older members bring their grandkids, if you like, which they wouldn't bring their grandkids to a Red Bull match. So I think the opposition to why does this tournament need to happen, I'd like to think that argument has gone away, because I think the influx of money into the game and the survival of the other formats of the game, in my opinion, has been helped by the 100. So the opposition to the tournament, I think, has gone. I think still around the domestic schedule, there's a lot of debate why we give the whole of August, if you like, to the 100. So that's an ongoing debate which we're still having with our members. But the actual opposition to the tournament existing, I'm pretty much largely gone, certainly in Nottingham.
On the field, are you confident that the Trent Rockets, last year the men came fifth and the women came fifth, could have a better season?
Yeah, look, you're always optimistic before the competition starts. My aim is to get at least one team to finals day. We managed to achieve that in the first 2 years. We haven't achieved that in the last 2 years. So, we've won a trophy once with the men. The girls came third in that same year. That's our best year. And that's kind of where we're still aiming for. I think you want to be in the tournament when it goes to the Oval and the Lords in the last week of August. And I think both of our teams look strong. Our girls team, particularly with three good overseas players and Nat Brunt playing in it, is particularly strong. And that's a team that I'm looking forward to watching play. And I think our men's team perhaps a little bit under the radar, a little bit not having superstars, particularly from this current England team, apart from Joe Root. But I'm hoping that they'll be well motivated, and I know they'll be a well coached team. And I think if we start well, we can surprise a few people.
You've still got Andy Flower as coach?
Yes, Andy's with us as coach. Peter Moores is on his staff now. So Andy Flower, Peter Moores, they've got a good team actually off the field. Graham Swan, Jonathan Trott, Mitchell McClenaghan. So that's my 5 sort of coaching staff. And then a lot of the sort of Knox-based science and medicine teams to support them. And John Lewis, head coach on the women's side, with Chris Reed alongside him, Courtney Winfield Hill, and a couple of other guys who coach in the women's game, either domestically in this country or in Australia.
You've got 2 new captains in the men and the women's teams this year.
Yes, I mean, we've had Lewis for 4 years, Lewis Gregory. He's obviously moved on to Manchester, I think, now. So we wish him all the best. He was really good for us, and hopefully we were good for him, gave him 4 good years. So David Willey will take over. That was a decision that Andy came to in the last few weeks. And on the women's side with Nat Brunt, she's got enough on her plate, I think, with the England women's team and becoming a mum recently. And we just see this month as an opportunity for somebody like Nat to have a little bit of the off-field pressure taken off her, and the on-field pressure of captaining, but just give her a time to play the game, to reflect on the game a bit more easily than having to deal with media, selection, team meetings and all that sort of thing. So I was really impressed with Ash Gardner last year when she was over as an overseas player, and she was very keen and happy to take the captaincy on.
You've also, overseas-wise, for the women, got Alana King, who was the star in the Women's Ashes.
Yeah, Alana's been with us, apart from year 1, which was sort of COVID hit year. She's been with us for 3 years, and she's been great. She's a little superstar bowler, great personality, loves playing in Nottingham, loves the Rockets. It's great to have her back. And I think one of the challenges for this tournament is building long-term relationships with players. That might change depending on how we go into a new model of player retention. But to have somebody like Alana here for 3 years, this will be 4 years in a row, I think is a good thing. And I think we can build, as I say, that relationship, and she can feel comfortable playing in Nottingham, and the supporters who come to watch know who she is and how skillful she is.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. From improving emergency response times to protecting against cyber attacks, local, state, and federal governments are innovating with Google AI. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Sports are all about teamwork, and so is insurance. Whether you need an in-person or digital assist, State Farm is there to help you choose the right coverage for your home, car, and more. Get a game plan that helps fit your life and talk to State Farm today. State Farm with the assist. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability and eligibility vary by state.
Turning to the future, things way out of your control, but the ECB maintain they will retain core control over the competition, the brand, the format and the schedule. Do you think that's possible with powerful overseas investors, owners?
Well, I think that's going to be the debates. You know, you didn't mention their player retention, player selection methods. I think these are the things that are going to be up for grabs or up for debate over the course of this summer. And if you've got people who put an awful lot of money in, you can be guaranteed they're going to want to have a say into how this competition looks going forward. I think there are hopefully some enough guardrails in for a competition to be structured and played at the time that the ECB say is the best time for it to be played, which is this year is through August, and then depending on how the test matches fall, it might be slightly different in other years. It's really important that the ECB keep control of the competition. They didn't sell the competition, they sold the individual teams, and they must show that they are going to keep control of the competition and the rules around it.
Because double headers make the day, don't they? It would be a shame if they were petitioned off and
Yeah, well, it's not. Yeah, look, it's not on my agenda. Something like that. I think the day is the double headers. We have two games at Trent Bridge, which, you know, as we said earlier, it came about by accident, really, after COVID, where most of the girls' games were going to be at other non-test match grounds, and then one double header. Now you've started this, I'd be very reluctant to see it moved. And I think at the moment it works really successfully in having both teams traveling together, training together, staying in the same hotels together. And becoming one club. And I think, you know, the division of games up would not help that.
and the price of tickets, it's good to keep them at reasonably priced for a family audience.
Yeah, look, I think if you want this tournament to be successful, and particularly to attract television audiences and television companies, you need full grounds. People don't want to look at grounds that are half empty or worse. So keeping the ticket prices there is really, really important. And if there is growth in this competition, I think it's far more in television and streaming and how the tournament looks around the world than in charging people more to get into the ground.
And do you think there could be more teams in the 100, which is going to make the schedule more important as well?
I think it's going to be like this till 29 at least.
Till the TV deal, yeah.
Yeah, and then the possibility of two more teams, probably two more matches, or no, probably one more match because you just wouldn't play your local rivals twice. So, look, you could probably get from 8 matches per team to 9 without that much difficulty in terms of the window that you've got. But you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overkill it. And I think 8 teams at the moment with the best players playing, hopefully, you know, the best players qualifying to play or being selected to play, keeps the standard high and keeps the overseas quality high as well.
Is it inevitable, as some people say, that it will change from a 100-ball tournament to a T20 tournament?
Well, I think it'll be interesting for the investors to have a look at it this year and see what they think once they've seen it. You know, I've always said the format isn't. I don't know why people get hung up on the format. You know, it's basically just T20 cricket with 20 less balls for me. So I don't know why people get so hung up on the format. In my mind, the double headers are key. Everything happening in one day. You don't want the day to stretch out too long. You and I I've seen IPL games that last for 4.5, 5 hours. We can't get into that territory, whether it's a single header or a double header.
That's very important for getting terrestrial TV involved with the 100, the time it takes.
Yeah, look, yeah, it is. It's absolutely key. And I think the numbers that you get on a BBC match compared to Sky are incredible. You know, Sky do a fantastic job for cricket, and we should be very grateful to them. The opportunity to get some games onto terrestrial, free to air, whatever you want to call it, is a great bonus for the 100, and we should be, you know, pleased that Sky and BBC have come to enough of an arrangement for that to happen. But it doesn't need to take much longer than it currently does. And I think, as I say, double headers are a key part of this for me, and we must try and maintain them.
We should expect, though, name changes and colour changes to the teams next year, you think?
Well, absolutely. You know, if I'm Sunrisers of Hyderabad and Sunrisers of Eastern Cape, I'm expecting to become Sunrisers of Leeds in some way, and play in their sort of orange and black, which they play in. I mean, I went to a couple of games in South Africa. They've done a great job in what they've helped South Africa form this tournament over there. So, yes, look, I think Sunrisers will have their name in it somewhere. Super Giants at Manchester will have a change. MI at the Oval, there'll be some MI in the team. And who else have you got? Southern Brave, you know, with the Capitals, probably some kind of Capitals and that. So, yeah, look, I think that's obviously an attraction for those teams who became part of what I would call global super clubs. The understanding you're going to change your name, but also you're going to suddenly get 1 million supporters around the world who may never come to your ground, ever. Probably won't, most of them, but they'll be followers of your team because they follow Sunrisers or they follow MI around the world. And that, I think, is part of the attraction of getting a global super club on board.
And that ultimately, for those owners, could lead to bigger TV deals with more streaming and things like that.
Yeah, again, not my area of expertise, but these people are not coming into this tournament to lose money, are they? They want to make money. They want to grow their brand, their sport, their team. So yes, I'm sure that when the next TV deal comes around, I don't know how many countries the 100 is shown in now, but the idea to increase that audience, that global audience, and as I say, if one of your teams is called Sunrisers, for example, and it's playing in 3 or 4 different tournaments around the world, you keep that name visible and on the field for as long as you can over 12 months.
But from what you're saying, it's important that the ECB keep control of the competition, things like times and schedule.
Yeah, look, yes, I 100%. I think, you know, as I said, if the ECB didn't want to keep control of it, then they could or should have sold the competition and let somebody else run the competition. But in the middle of the English summer as it is, I think it's important that ECB have kept control. We haven't really tried double headers the other way around very much. That might be something that people might want to try. At the moment, we're settled where we are, but I'm sure people will have lots of ideas. I think they need to see the tournament run for a season before they run too far ahead with those ideas.
On a positive front, more money should see even higher standard of players playing in the tournament.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you know, the top salaries have gone up from 125 to 200 this year. And I think when you're competing for global superstars, although 125 seems an awful lot of money to you and me, definitely. If you're getting offered double that to go to America or the CPL at the same time, and there may be certain different tax advantages of going to other countries, I'm sure players now can pick and choose a small group of players. I think for a lot of English players, they're happy to be in it. You know, the lowest salary I think is at 31 grand in the men and 10 in the girls. I think that will get closer together. But over time, I would expect the salaries to go up, and I would expect other rules around players and players' contracts to change as well.
That is important, though, for the women's salaries to get closer to the men's.
Oh, look, 100%. I mean, you've only got to go back to the start of this. The men's salaries were 100. Top whack was 125. Bottom whack was 30 for 4 years. The girls started at 15 and 3.5. So you've already seen the girls go from 15 to 65, 3.5 to 10. So your percentage increase has been enormous. I'm not saying it's close enough yet, but you've got to remember where you started from and how long that this country's had full-time professional women's cricket compared to how long it's had professional men's cricket.
There's a lot of talk at the moment about the county schedule. What do you think to the idea of playing fewer matches in the Blast and the county championship, possibly because of the 100 being squeezed into August?
Yeah, look, the 100 has added to the challenge of the domestic structure, but as I said earlier, I think it's here to stay. So the argument about get rid of it is gone. I don't, I don't think we need to be having that argument anymore, though I'm sure some people will. I would like to see a small reduction in men's domestic cricket. I would. I would like to see a 12-12 schedule. I've said that. I've said that in our club. I've said that because not just because of the 100. I think the expectations on our players, but also on our coaching staffs and our operations teams is much, much greater than it used to be. We are home here at Trent Bridge to Nottinghamshire County Cricket Club men, to the Blaze women all year round. We have far more training sessions than we ever used to have. We have far more demand on our net facilities and our practice facilities and our match facilities by hosting double headers in domestic cricket. I would like to see a small reduction. I'm not ashamed to say it, or not afraid to say it. And I think the PCA have come out again this week to say it again. So I understand people are passionate and emotive about 4-day cricket. Doesn't mean we don't want to win. Just because we think we should play a little bit less. We won't be trying any less. We won't be training any less. We won't be, we won't be saying, no, it doesn't matter now because there's only 12 games, not 14. So if it does go to 12, I would think that's right, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the PCA have come out and said it's the only reasonable option. Gone are the days when you played 24 county championship games, Mick.
Well, we did, and we used to play a 40-over match in the middle somewhere else. It doesn't mean it was right. It means it was bonkers if you look back on it. We used to play at Trent Bridge on a Saturday, drive to Birmingham on a Sunday morning, back on a Sunday night, and start the game again on Monday. So, look, the whole world was different then. I think we are looking at a far more elite sport. I'm not saying it's better or worse than it used to be, but these guys and girls are professional athletes for 12 months of the year now. They train hard, they work very, very hard, they want to put on a good show. And I think a little bit more space in the men's schedule would allow for them to put on a better show. And it would take some of the pressure off our operations teams and our ground staff, which if we don't have pitches, we don't have a game.
But it's key then that the 100 doesn't get much bigger and eventually it's played over 6 weeks and things like that.
Yeah, that's again going back to your point about the ECB keeping control of the comp. Again, if by keeping control of it, by saying when the dates are, it needs to fit in around Test match and international cricket. That what shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. The governing body needs to keep control of it, and I think it's about. We meet on the 3rd of August. We finish on the 31st of August this year, something like that. So it's packed into 28, 29 days. I don't see it getting any bigger, if I'm honest, because I think that's what it's designed for. Short and sharp, play it, get the crowds in, and then we resume county championship cricket in September.
Well, thank you very much, Mick, for a very honest chat about the 100. Enjoy 2025. You're going to have a 43-year-old playing and a 17-year-old in Sir Jimmy Anderson and Rocky Flintoff, and most of the women's Ashes winning team from Australia.
Oh, it's going to be great, with the girls in particular. I think because the money's gone from 15 to 65, like I said earlier, you're going to have some really, really good quality overseas players in the women's comp and some well-rewarded England players, as we said, with Nat Silver-Brunt. So, looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing Jimmy and hopefully Rocky Flintoff gets a game somewhere, yeah.
Well, thank you very much again for being on the Paddock and the Pavilion.
Thank you, Steve.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.